to get started, so if we could please find our seats. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Baxter.
Present.
Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Marino.
Here.
Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Sachs. Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
Vice Mayor Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you are able, please stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Dear God, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business for our community. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness. Impart your wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. In your holy name, amen. Good morning, Pat. Do you have any additions, deletions, or substitutions for us?
Good morning, Mayor. Yes, for your add delete, item 3B4, we have your revised motion. Item 3C6, another revised motion. Item 3H3, a revision to the summary. 3FF1 is an add-on. 4F is one of our deleted special presentations, and last is an add-on 5E1 regarding a shade meeting, and that concludes add delete.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adopt. I have a motion by Commissioner Flores, a second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please say that that motion carries 6-0. Consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull anything from consent? I will entertain a motion to approve consent. I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that the motion carries 6-0. Moving on to special presentations. We are going to start with our proclamations. You're first, and then Commissioner Weiss, you're doing 7?
Good morning, everyone. We are declaring post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) Awareness Month. I'm going to call up some people from the VA. I got Miss Sonia Arnolds, Assistant Director of Patient Care Services. I got Sureth Rajpara, Associate Chief of Staff. I got Richard Bus Bryan, Director of Community Relations and Outreach from the VA, and then from the Healthcare District, I got Darcy Davis, President and CEO of the Healthcare District, Dr. Courtney Phillips, Vice President of Behavioral Health, and then Maxine, that last name is going to trip me out, but we all know Maxine. She come up, Director of External Affairs. Got everybody here? All right, so declaring June 2026 as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder (PTSD) Awareness Month, whereas post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) is a mental health condition that can develop after experiencing or witnessing traumatic events, affecting millions of Americans, including veterans, first responders, survivors of violence, abuse, accidents, natural disasters, and other traumatic experiences, and where PTSD can impact individuals of all ages, backgrounds, and walk of life, often affecting emotional well-being, physical health, relationships, and quality of life. Whereas increasing awareness and understanding PTSD can help reduce stigma, encourage individuals to seek support and treatment, and promotes compassion for those living with the effects of trauma. And whereas the West Palm Beach VA Medical Center, I think it's called Thomas H. Corey, yeah. I go there every once in a while. Center provides critical mental health services, support programs, and resources to veterans and their families, helping those affected by PTSD access care, healing, and recovery. And whereas the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County works to improve access to behavioral and mental health services throughout the community, supporting initiatives that promote mental wellness and expands care for residents in need. And whereas recognizing PTSD Awareness Month serves as an opportunity to honor the strength and resilience of individuals living with PTSD and reaffirm our community's commitment to support mental health awareness, education, and access to care. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled on this regular session on the second day of June 2026, that June 2026 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, PTSD Awareness Month. And I would like to invite Darcy Davis to say a few words.
On behalf of the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County, thank you for recognizing June as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Month. I'm especially grateful to Commissioner Flores for sponsoring this proclamation and for his steadfast support of the district throughout our journey to bring the mind and body back together in healthcare. I also want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for supporting this critical issue. PTSD is among the lasting wounds of military service. We owe an enduring debt of gratitude to the veterans who have sacrificed so much for our nation and who continue to carry the effects of trauma long after their service has ended. Today, we also recognize that PTSD can touch every corner of our community, including our brave first responders, survivors of violence and abuse, and individuals who have experienced traumatic events of all kinds. The Healthcare District continues to ensure evidence-based behavioral health services are affordable and accessible. PTSD is no exception. Alongside our partners across Palm Beach County, we work every day to connect people with the care, support, and resources they need to experience the life they deserve. Thank you again for this recognition and for your continued support.
You guys want to see anything from VA?
Let Dr. Rajpar. Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Commissioner Flores, members of Board of County Commissioners, community partners, and honored guest. I am Dr. Rajpar. I'm a psychiatrist by trade, and I'm Chief of Mental Health Service at West Palm Beach VA Healthcare Systems. We are honored to have been invited to receive this proclamation. I would also like to take a moment to recognize Commissioner Flores as a combat veteran who honorably served in Afghanistan. Your service, leadership, and continued advocacy for our veterans and their families are deeply appreciated. Thank you so much. On behalf of Mental Health Services at West Palm Beach VA Healthcare Systems, thank you for recognizing June as PTSD Awareness Month in Palm Beach County. Post-traumatic stress disorder affects 5% of the U.S. population and is, as you know, more prevalent among veterans and the first responders compared to the civilians. While PTSD can have a significant impact on individuals and families, it is important to remember that effective treatments are available and recovery is possible. We are committed to providing high quality and comprehensive evidence-based care to our veterans with a wide range of traumatic experiences. West Palm Beach VA Healthcare System will be hosting a PTSD Resource Fair on Wednesday, June 10th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the main atrium at our Thomas H. Corey VA Medical Center. Today, West Palm Beach VA Healthcare System is also proud to announce a new milestone in our ongoing commitment to expanding mental health services available to our veterans. We have very recently implemented a state-of-the-art, non-invasive, evidence-based treatment called transcranial magnetic stimulation at West Palm Beach VA. This cutting-edge treatment approach offers hope for veterans challenged with depressive and anxiety disorders, particularly those veterans who have not found relief through traditional medications or psychotherapies, or who have experienced intolerable side effects. Soon we are hoping to make this treatment available to veterans with PTSD. This advancement represents hope, innovation, and our continued dedication to improving quality of life. We are grateful to Commissioner Flores and Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners for their commitment to mental health awareness and for supporting the well-being of all residents, especially our veterans. Thank you for this recognition and for helping us promote hope, healing, and recovery throughout our community. Thank you.
While they're taking their pictures, I'd like to ask the new Leaders Council class of 2026 and their representatives to join me up here at this lectern. Good morning. I send, Commissioner Powell sends his best wishes. I wished he could be here today, but he is up in Tallahassee doing some good work on behalf of Palm Beach County and asked me if I would present this proclamation on his behalf. So it's not going to be a Bobby Powell way of presenting it. I can assure you of that. So you may want to call him back just till you get that flavor. We are recognizing the New Leaders Council class of 2026, whereas New Leaders Council class of 2026 is a distinguished cohort of 18 emerging leaders from across Palm Beach County, representing a diverse range of industries, including business, education, healthcare, nonprofit, public service, and entrepreneurship. And selected through a competitive application process, these leaders have committed to an extensive leadership development program focused on civic engagement, public service, and community impact. Throughout the program, fellows have participated in trainings, workshops, and collaborative projects designed to strengthen their skills in ethical leadership, advocacy, cross-sector collaboration, and united by a shared commitment to service, the class of 2026 is dedicated to addressing critical issues impacting Palm Beach County, including economic opportunity, education, housing, and community development. Each fellow brings a unique perspective and professional expertise, contributing to a collective vision of building a more equitable and inclusive community. And whereas, as the next generation of leaders, this cohort is equipped with the tools, networks, and knowledge to drive meaningful change and create lasting impact. Their work reflects a deep dedication to uplifting others, fostering civic participation, and strengthening the communities they serve. And whereas the New Leaders Council class of 2026 represents the future of leadership in Palm Beach County, and their continued contributions will help shape a stronger and more resilient region. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on this second day of June 2026, that the Board recognizes the New Leaders Council class of 2026. Congratulations. Somebody going to...
First and foremost, I want to thank all commissioners, particularly Commissioner Powell for sponsoring us, being a longtime supporting member, and everyone in this room for showing up, attending, and seeing us and what we do. I also want to thank all the all the cohort, particularly 2026, being here and supporting each other, because that's what we do. We work and we train hard together to support our community, our friends, our family, and training proximate leaders to help improve Palm Beach, Florida. We thank you. We're grateful to you. And when you see us, say hi.
So NLC is a great organization. I actually had an opportunity to sit at one of their panels this year. But if you're a young leader and want to take that next step, I think this is a great organization for you to be a part of. All right, so we are now going to be declaring June 2026 as National Homeownership Month. And if I can have the department and team from Housing and Economic Development Department come up. All right, declaring June 2026 as National Homeownership Month. Whereas National Homeownership Month is celebrated each year in June throughout the United States. And whereas homeownership is an integral part of the American dream, an individual owning the home in which they live, allowing them to become permanent members of the community and having an asset to pass down to future generations. And whereas Palm Beach County recognizes that homeownership plays a critical role in strengthening families and offers a pathway to self-sufficiency, improved health, and quality of life. And whereas Palm Beach County maintains partnerships with financial institutions, realtors, housing developers, counseling agencies, community housing providers, and other undertake collaborative actions to support affordable homeownership. And whereas housing market conditions currently present challenges to affordability and a continuing need for affordable homes. And whereas Palm Beach County's Department of Housing and Economic Development offers programs to increase homeownership among residents, including purchase assistance programs that have provided $21,702,436 in partnership in State Housing Initiative Partnership SHIP program funds, over $2.6 million in home investment partnership funds, and over $6.6 million in workforce housing programs funds to assist 403 low, moderate, and middle income new homeowners over the past 5 years. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, assembled on this regular session on the second day of June 2026, that June 2026 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed National Homeownership Month.
Good morning. My name is Dorena Jenkins Gaskin. I'm a division director with the Housing and Economic Development Department. On behalf of HED, I would like to thank Mayor Baxter, Board of County Commissioners, and the County Administrator for recognizing National Homeownership Month. Your continued support of the workforce housing programs, state housing initiative programs, home investment programs, and the new home buyer match pilot programs allows HED to continue to assist Palm Beach County residents in becoming homeowners. Again, thank you, and it's an honor to accept this proclamation.
And I'd like to ask that the beautiful women dressed in red join me up here at the lectern. We're going to be presenting a proclamation to the Charmettes. It's quite an honor to have you with us this morning.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. We are recognizing the 75th anniversary of the Palm Beach County chapter of the Charmettes. Whereas the Palm Beach County chapter of the Charmettes Incorporated is celebrating 75 years of dedicated service, leadership, and community outreach in Palm Beach County and beyond. The Charmettes was founded in Riviera Beach in Florida in 1951. That was before I was born. By Gwendolyn Baker Rogers and Frankie Drayton Thomas, with a mission of service, scholarship, and civic engagement. Whereas for 75 years, the Palm Beach County chapter has made a positive impact through charitable giving, supporting cancer awareness and research, educational initiatives, youth development and mentorship, volunteerism, partnerships, and programs that strengthen families and communities. The Charmettes Incorporated contributed more than $1.1 million to Howard University for cancer research, reflecting a commitment to the eradication of cancer and the promotion of health awareness. Whereas the 75th anniversary theme, built on pillars of purpose, celebrating 75 years of undaunted charm, honors the organization's legacy of service and commitment to the future. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on second day of June 2026, that the board recognizes the 75th anniversary of the Palm Beach County chapter of the Charmettes Incorporated. Congratulations.
Good morning. On behalf of the Palm Beach County chapter of the Charmettes Incorporated, it is my pleasure this morning as the chapter president, Sharon Wood, to say thank you to the mayor and the commissioners, and a special thank you to Commissioner Bobby Powell for making this opportunity possible for us. As you have heard, we are truly celebrating 75 years of undaunting charm here in Palm Beach County. Founded 75 years ago in the beautiful city of Riviera Beach, we have been making a difference for 75 years, and it's our pleasure to continue to do that, and it's because of the citizens of Palm Beach County that we continue to do what we do, and that is to educate, advocate, and support those who are experiencing cancer in any form or fashion. I affectionately and lovingly, and no pun intended, but before there was a Susan G. Coleman, there was the Charmettes Incorporated, making a difference, making strides to find a cure for cancer for all men and women here in Palm Beach County. So today, we're truly grateful to stand on the shoulders of greatness, and we have present with us today, standing behind me, longtime member of the Palm Beach County chapter, Marion Madry Stubbs. We have our National Vice President, Dr. Wanza Sermons Lee, and we have wonderful members from all walks of life here in Palm Beach County who are members of the chapter, doing what we have been called to do, and that is to educate, advocate, and make a difference in finding a cure and eradicating cancer in our lifetime. Again, thank you very much for this proclamation, and we're going to continue to be the trailblazers that we are in making a difference. Thank you.
Okay, while they take their picture, I'm going to ask everyone here for the 25th anniversary for the BAPS Sri Swaminari Mandir. Apologize if I butcher that, and all of your names in advance. Deval Bhagat, Shlok Shah, Nibod Patel, Jayesh Patel, Kirtan Patel, Bharat Patel, Deval Katbamna, Jatin Amin, you can come forward as I call you. Smita Patel, Meena Patel, Kamal Acharya, Sirja Patel, Rusha Shah, Nishma Trivedi, and Urvi Patel. And I apologize. Okay. Okay, today we are recognizing the 25th anniversary of BAPS Sri Swaminari Mandir. Am I saying that right? Okay, thank you. Whereas BAPS Sri Swaminari Mandir in Boynton Beach was inaugurated in June 2001 as the first traditional Hindu temple in Palm Beach County, serving as a beacon of faith, culture, and community for residents throughout South Florida. And whereas for 25 years, the Mandir has served as a spiritual and cultural home for individuals and families, promoting the universal values of peace, compassion, unity, humility, devotion, and selfless service through worship, education, and community engagement. And whereas, guided by the principles of faith and volunteerism, members and volunteers of BAPS Sri Swaminari Mandir have dedicated thousands of hours to charitable and humanitarian efforts, including food drives, health fairs, disaster relief initiatives, walkathons, youth leadership programs, and other service-oriented activities benefiting the broader community. And whereas the Mandir has fostered interfaith understanding, cultural appreciation, and civic harmony by welcoming residents of all backgrounds to educational tours, festivals, cultural celebrations, and programs that strengthen mutual respect and community connection throughout Palm Beach County. Whereas the celebration of the Mandir's 25th anniversary, Rajat Jayanti, on June 20th and 21st, 2026, marks an important milestone honoring a legacy of spiritual guidance, cultural enrichment, volunteerism, and dedicated service that has positively impacted countless lives across the region. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on this second day of June 2026, that this board recognizes the 25th anniversary of BAPS Sri Swaminari Mandir.
Take a picture first and then I can speak, so I can sit down.
And we also have fellow commissioners up here that all represent this general area. We're going to take a picture, but first we'd like to hear from you.
Good morning, Vice Mayor Woodward. Namaste and Jai Swaminarayan. I gotta start with a confession first, though. Generally, when people come up to this DS or podium, they want something from you, maybe a permit exception or a variance or a pothole change or something. I'm here for the opposite. I came to say thank you. My name is Dhaval Bhagat, and I'm a volunteer with BAPS Sri Swaminarayan Mandir. Mandir as in a Hindu place of worship, right here in Boynton Beach. And I'll be honest, some of us are a little sore this morning because of we were all out walking on a Sunday morning for a 5K walk that we had. But more on that later in a minute. This year, our mandir turns 25. A quarter century ago, when our families opened the first Hindu mandir ever in Palm Beach County, this community opened their doors and welcomed us with open arms. So this morning, I just don't want to accept this proclamation, but I want to tell you what we have done with your welcome for us here. Here's the thing about mandir. People may think it's a building, it's a place of worship. It's just not that. Mandir is a verb, something where community comes together every single week. And every week, more than 500 of us gather under that roof, about 150 of them young kids. And while these kids are learning about the tabla rhythm or a dance move or learn our language, what they really are learning is who they are. And that giving back isn't optional, it's the whole point. So here are some receipts on that. Through these 25 years, we have conducted about 32 different blood drives. And our community has donated about 505 pints of blood, enough to save 1,500 plus lives. 1,500 neighbors we will never meet who get a little more time because someone in Boynton Beach rolled up their sleeves. Of that 25 years, for almost 21 years, we have laced up our shoes, as I indicated, for an annual walkathon. And just one being on this Sunday morning, where we have walked for Susan G. Komen, for the Boynton Beach Firefighter Benevolent Association, for the Gold Coast Down Syndrome Association, and many more. And this year, on the recommendation from Commissioner Gregg here, thank you, sir, we walked for Speak Up for Kids, an amazing organization right here in Palm Beach County. And for 9 years, we have done several food drives during the Thanksgiving and holiday season, partnering with Feeding South Florida. And the last one brought about almost 500 pounds of food. And when COVID stretched through our hospitals and put our hospitals at a breaking point, we gave a sizable support to Bethesda Hospital network, because when the community that took care of us, they needed someone to take care of them as well. We thought we were there for them. And we don't do any of these as just a checkbox exercise. We do because of one idea that is at the heart of our faith, and through the words of my Guru, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, in the joy of other lies our own. And I don't want you to take just my word for it, because for 25 years is in statistics. It's sitting right here in this room with all of us here being here. Some of us standing here were at the beginning, before the building, before the proclamations, when this was just a handful of family and a one big idea. And others are carrying it today. Keeping the doors open, 500 people showing every single week. The ones who built it, Jay Patel, right? He's one of the founding members. Meena Patel here, Smita Ben Patel over there. These are the founding members of our temple. And now with our current leadership under Jatin Bhai Amin, who is our current fearless leader, even though he doesn't look fearless at all, there's a proof that idea just didn't survive, it grew. And then, of course, there are these kids right here. Some of them haven't even finished their middle school yet. And these are our kids, the future of our mandir, and the future of this county and this country. So in 25 years, they'll be the ones standing right here at this podium, and hopefully maybe sitting somebody along with you as well. So when I look at this room, you're not looking at a celebration, you're looking at a relay of baton from a generation to generation, and we don't plan to slow down. So I also want to thank Nita Mahani, who has been a cultural carrier for us in this building as well, and unfortunately she couldn't be here. So I said I don't have any asks, but I do have 2 asks. First, please join us, every single one of you, on June 21st as we celebrate 25 years of our mandir. Come see us with your own eyes. Some of you've been there. What we have built, and we would love for you to join us for our 25th celebration. And a second, help us do more. You know this county better than any of us. Tell us where the needs are. Where can BAPS show up next? Where can we be a stronger pair of hands for all of you as well? 25 years ago, Palm Beach County opened its arms to a small group of families with big idea. Give us the next 25 years, and we'll spend every one of them opening ours right back at you. Once again, thank you very much for the recognition, and hopefully see you all on 21st. Thank you very much. Whatever's easier.
I'm a big girl. I have to just turn
Please.
Let me get up a little higher.
Oh, you're coming over here? No, you're perfect.
Here, we'll drop this down.
Sorry, I was back to back. I apologize. We are now going to do the Pink Ball Foundation attendees. Could Michelle Stallone, Robert Stallone, Gianna Marie Stallone, Maureen Eustace, Mike Eustace, Kelly McLeod, Tanyan Sturts, Erica Sturts, Shakira Sarkis Cobbler, Giselle Nessie, Todd Clancy, Tiss Moore, Brandon West, Michael Kletsky, and Dave Bernhardt. All please come forward. All right, today we are recognizing the 15th anniversary of the Pink Ball Foundation. Whereas Michelle Stallone, a visionary leader, advocate, and community champion, founded the Pink Ball Foundation, together with equally passionate baseball moms, with a mission to empower individuals and strengthen communities through engagement, education, and advocacy. Whereas while working as a mammography technologist at Boca Raton Regional Hospital, Michelle noticed far too many women were skipping critical breast cancer screenings simply because they couldn't afford them. And whereas through the Pink Ball Foundation, Michelle Stallone has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to creating a fund for screening and diagnostic mammograms and breast ultrasounds for women in our community who are uninsured or underinsured. And whereas over the last 15 years, the Pink Ball Foundation has raised over $1.5 million, which has helped over 3,200 patients. Their efforts have led to the detection of 41 breast cancers. And whereas Strike Out Breast Cancer annual fundraisers are held at the South County Regional Park in Boca Raton, consisting of a full day of kickball, softball, celebrity all-star games, food trucks, bounce houses, and more. And whereas Michelle's dedication and impact has named her 2019 Women Volunteer of the Year by the Junior League of Boca Raton and a Daily Point of Light honoree in 2025. And whereas she continues to be a force for positive change, reminding her community that one person's vision can save lives when backed by heart, hustle, and teamwork. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on this second day of June 2026, that the board recognizes the 15th anniversary of the Pink Ball Foundation.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of Pink Ball Striking Out Breast Cancer, and sincere thank you to Vice Mayor Marcy Woodward for being such a support and an advocate for us to hold this charity yearly is very important to us. And the Board of County Commissioners, thank you for having us today. It's an honor. We're so grateful to be recognized today supporting our mission. The proclamation is an honor. It's a reminder. When community comes together, we make a difference. We're very proud to serve local women. We can't do it without your partnerships and the support of leaders like you around us. We're a team, and it truly takes a village. We continue to do what I call God's work, and just alone since January, we already screened 250 women for breast cancer and diagnosed 4 of them with DCIS, which is an early stage of breast cancer, which they will be survivors. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Pink Ball team behind me, which makes up of my family, my very dear friends, South Florida lawmen, which make up our softball team for the past 10 years with retired Major League Baseball players, and our All-Star First Responder Games, a key part of our event. It features retired baseball players, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, Delray Police Department, and Florida Highway Patrol. They know the meaning of service, so every year they have our back, and they come out and support us and bring their friends and family, and we couldn't do it without them. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this recognition, and I really hope we could continue to do more together. And Vice Mayor Marcy, I just want to present you with a jersey, so you are truly a part of our Pink Ball team now. So thank you all for having us. I really, really appreciate it, and I promise you it's making a difference in our community. Thank you.
And while they're taking their picture, I'd like to ask folks that are here for the Youth Entrepreneurs Entrepreneurship Month proclamation to join me.
Well, they can't. They're trapped.
Oh, they're trapped? Okay. I won't start without you. Good morning. Whereas Palm Beach County recognizes that young people are powerful drivers of innovation, creativity, and economic growth, and that cultivating entrepreneurial skills in youth cultivates the long-term prosperity and resilience of our communities. Whereas the county is committed to expanding pathways for youth to explore business ownership, financial literacy, leadership development, and career readiness through programs that equip them with tools to succeed in a competitive and rapidly evolving economy. Whereas the Mind Your Business Youth Entrepreneurship Forum, held annually in Palm Beach County, serves as a premier platform for young innovators to learn from industry leaders, engage in hands-on workshops, pitch business ideas, and connect with mentors who support their entrepreneurial journey. And whereas this 7th annual forum has become a cornerstone event that uplifts youth voices, celebrates creativity, and fosters a culture of economic empowerment among middle school and high school participants. And whereas the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners proudly supports youth entrepreneurship initiatives that promote equitable access to opportunity, strengthen local talent pipelines, and prepare the next generation of business leaders. And whereas the Palm Beach County Department of Housing and Economic Development sponsors and champions the Mind Your Business Youth Entrepreneurship Forum as a part of its mission to advance economic development, expand small business capacity, and invest in programs that build community wealth. Whereas Palm Beach County acknowledges the importance of public-private partnerships, community organizations, educators, and families who work collaboratively to nurture youth entrepreneurship and ensure that every young person, regardless of background, has the opportunity to dream, create, and lead. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners assembled in regular session on this 2nd day of June 2026 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Youth Entrepreneurship Month. Congratulations.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and guests. My name is Laren Calvo, and I am honored to serve as the new Director of the Office of Small Business Development. It is a privilege to be here today as we recognize youth entrepreneurship in Palm Beach County. Our youth are creative, capable, and full of potential. And it is our responsibility to ensure that they have opportunities to explore their interests and ideas and to build their futures. This year, as Commissioner said, marks the 7th anniversary of our Mind Your Business Youth Entrepreneurship Forum, a program that has grown into one of the most impactful initiatives. Each summer, hundreds of students come together to learn trades, explore STEM, experiment with AI, and develop their voices through media and storytelling. They leave not only with new skills, but also with the confidence to see themselves as innovators, entrepreneurs, and future leaders. On behalf of the Department of Housing and Economic Development and the Office of Small Business Development, thank you to the board, especially to Commissioner Weiss for sponsoring this proclamation, for your continued support and for all that you do. Together, we're investing in the next generation of entrepreneurs whose ideas, talents, and leadership will help shape the future of Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bella Mayorka, and I'm a young entrepreneur here in Palm Beach County. When I first attended the Mind Your Business event, I didn't walk in with a business plan. I walked in with curiosity, ambition, and a lot of ideas. What I found was something much more valuable than a roadmap. Through the event, I was able to learn from local business leaders and connect with people who showed me that entrepreneurship wasn't something reserved for the future, but it was instead something that I could start pursuing today. Because of that encouragement, I took a chance on myself and started my own business. But more importantly, I gained the confidence to do so. I learned that entrepreneurship isn't just about building a company. It's about learning how to solve problems, take initiative, and turn ideas into real action. The impact of Mind Your Business has been so meaningful that today I have the privilege in assisting in planning the event this year, helping create the same opportunities and inspiration for young people that were once provided to me. Programs like Mind Your Business give young people permission to think bigger. They create opportunities, inspire innovation, and remind us that our age does not define our potential. I am incredibly thankful to Palm Beach County, Antonia Smith, and the entirety of the Small Business Office for investing in young entrepreneurs and continuing to create opportunities that empower the next generation of business leaders. Thank you so much for this proclamation. I really appreciate it.
Which way are you going to shoot? I'd rather do it this way because then we'll do it this way. Come on, this one. We need to get it. We need to be it. Go ahead.
Thank you for your continued.
Thank you,
Commissioner Weiss.
and that's amazing. Congratulations on what you've done. We're so proud.
Thank you for your continued support over the years for this initiative.
Absolutely. We'll be there this year. Thank you.
That will conclude our special presentations. We are going to move on to the regular agenda. Item 5A1 is airports. Would anyone like a presentation? I have a motion by Commissioner Flores. A second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that the motion carries 6-0. Thank you. You're welcome. Next, we have 5B1, Office of Financial Management and Budget. Would anyone like a presentation? Yes. I thought so.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, it's nice to be with you. Dorothy Jacks, your Palm Beach County property appraiser. I'm going to apologize for my slight hoarseness. I have a bit of a cold, but I hopefully will not devolve into a coughing attack, but we'll work with that if that happens. I am, as usual, here in June of each year to give you a short update of how the Palm Beach County tax roll is looking for 2026. And in light of the activity taking place as we speak in Tallahassee, I also am prepared to talk to you a little bit about what the reforms that are being discussed might mean to Palm Beach County. But let's quickly go through the good news, which is around the values and where they stand for 2026. First of all, our market value has gone up from 528,000 billion to 548 billion, so a $20 billion increase year over year. Taxable increase from 342 billion to now 365 billion. If you notice, that number's a little higher than the market value increase, and that's because of the caps. We'll talk about that in a minute. Net new construction continues to be very strong this year at 5.3 billion. I did make a note there that this number is new construction additions, annexations in the case of cities, minus deletions. Deletions might be where a building is demolished. Simple. Giving us a percentage overall increase in taxable value of 6.87%. Now, these numbers are preliminary. We provide your office and all of the cities and other taxing authorities in Palm Beach County with an update on July 1st. That is the number that we certify to Tallahassee and to you all as you begin to prepare your budget for 2026. That number will probably increase over these as we're still working. The total parcel count has increased by 3,000 over last year. I'm also going to talk a little bit about new construction, but parcel increase is really around platting primarily. So in other words, each year, a lot of people plat their properties. In fact, we had 96 plats that we've worked for the 2026 roll. And what that means is we go from one big parcel to maybe 200 smaller parcels. Each one of those parcels is considered an additional parcel to us. So that's how that number increases, is through the process of platting and also to some extent splits and combinations and also condominiums. So we had 12 new condominiums declare between last year and this year. So that's 12 that are prepared now, either are already started building, usually they have with a condominium declaration, and then where they will be added to the roll when they're finished. So think about parcels as actually land, and then we'll talk about new construction because that, in most cases, comes a little later. All right. There's been a slight decrease in the total tangible accounts. Tangible is, of course, business personal property, so there's usually an ebb and a flow to that number. Businesses go out of business and businesses begin business, so we tend to have a sort of a neutral number there each year, but it's about 300 less than last year, nothing that I would consider significant. So just looking at a sort of a picture from 2018 to present, if you'll see, there is, we can see the COVID spike happening 21 to 22 and into 23, and then we see a sort of, I don't want to call it a flattening because it certainly isn't, it's a healthy increase happening each year thereafter. The blue line is the assessed value, which is the value that people are paying tax on, and it is very controlled nowadays by the caps, by the 3% cap and the 10% cap as well on non-homesteaded property. And so that divide between the two numbers is the differential, what we call the differential between what the market may say your property is worth and what the your cap, because you've been homesteaded, or because you're under the 10 cap, says your property you're paying tax on. Your cap, of course, comes off anytime you sell or transfer a property, and then we have what we call recapture, where we take back the value between the two, and the new owner begins at the market value. So I think that's a fairly healthy slide, just kind of giving you some perspective. It's nice to see the market sort of a little calmer than it was, and I hope it just continues to tick along like it is there. I thought I would talk a little bit today about new construction because the numbers in 2026 reflect our third year of new construction at or above $5 billion. This is new value. It's never been taxed before. It is also doesn't include land value. That's important. The land is valued separately. This is just building. 40% of the new construction in Palm Beach County is happening in the unincorporated area. In the highlights, this breaks down, a lot of people think of new construction as large commercial buildings. But actually the numbers say otherwise. Condominiums and townhomes are a significant piece of the numbers at 1,100 new built units, usually in the case of condominiums, added to the tax roll. This year, that was 1.4 billion of the value. Probably the most sort of significant one of those was the new Nautilus condominium in Lake Park, which came on at $400 million. But single family, that third line is really the bread and butter of this county. Always has been, but I think it's important to remember that. 2,800 new residential units were added for this year's tax roll. So that means that they were finished last year. They were able to be used for their intended purpose, which is the definition we follow for when we add a property. It's known as being substantially complete. It means you're able to use it for its intended purpose. So in this case, it means you're able to move in, right? The water's running, the toilet's flushed, that sort of thing. So 2,800 new residential units added for the first time. I think the highlights in that category are really in Palm Beach Gardens, interestingly. Artistry, Avenir, Panther National, all big communities that added a lot of new value for 2026. Westlake also continues to grow each year. They add a lot of value, but we also saw quite high numbers in Boca Raton, in West Palm Beach, even in Delray Beach. If you think of Western Delray Beach, a lot of additional value there. We've talked a little bit about whether this trend will continue, whether we'll continue to see $5 billion of new construction each year, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did. Unless there is some sort of major national economic blip, there's no reason to think that it won't continue. We've already started collecting data for the 2027 roll regarding what is going to finish in this roll to be ready, in this year to be ready for next year's roll. And there's no reason to think that it won't continue to be in these sort of high numbers. All right. That really concludes the sort of bulk of my presentation. I wanted now to talk a little bit about the activity in Tallahassee that we're monitoring. These next two spreadsheets have been given to you because you obviously probably can't read them here, and I hope you have them. We completed this work just yesterday, and what we are showing here is the impact, the estimated impact related to both the Senate and now the House's joint resolutions around increasing the homestead exemption from, at the moment, $50,000 to $150,000 in 2027 and $250,000 in 2028. So on this page, you have every city in Palm Beach County, all 39 cities, and their impacts in red. These are tax dollar impacts. You'll see you have current, well, let me go back. We used 2025 numbers because we needed to use a set of certified numbers, both millage rate and value, as you have not yet set your millage rates for this year. And you'll see the potential 150,000 exemption in 27 revenue loss in the next column, and you will see the potential $250,000 total exemption revenue loss in the third red column. So if we go all the way to the bottom of the sheet, currently you have about a $90 million reduction due to the $50,000 exemption. That's today. In 2027, it would be $239 million and increase to $396 million in 2028 if the bill passes. We understand that the House and the Senate are now working on a similar plan in both chambers. That probably indicates to us that something will pass out of the House and the Senate today or tomorrow. The schools have now been held harmless from both the increase to 150 and the increase to 250,000, meaning that the taxpayers will continue to pay property tax for the school systems. However, all other taxing districts, cities, county, and all of the special districts, healthcare district, Children's Services Council, fire if you pay county fire, the Water Management District and the Florida Inland Navigation District will all have the same reduction that you see at the county level. And this, of course, will be statewide. I think if I could speak to what this says to me, and I have spoken to Administrator Abruzzo about this, is a real concern for our smaller municipalities. Many of our 39 cities are homestead-based, meaning they're bedroom communities. They're lovely bedroom communities. And I worry for them because this sort of impact will be significant to them. When you are a Lake Clark Shores and you are a lovely place that nobody ever moves from, you have a lot of folks who are actually capped quite a low rate. Many of them have capped pre-COVID numbers, and it will effectively remove their tax roll, if you will, from those properties. It will be also hard on many counties in the state who have this similar issue, but on a county-wide level, smaller counties. I think Palm Beach County is a big county, and there's a lot going on here. It makes a little bit of a difference for us, but it does...
Excuse me. Commissioner Sachs, did you have a question?
I didn't want to interrupt you, Phil, mid-sentence, but thank you very much, Madam Mayor. You belong to an organization statewide that's a very powerful lobbying organization. What does that organization of property appraisers throughout the state of Florida, what is their opinion on this main issue of property tax reform?
I don't know that we have yet formed a main opinion. I will tell you in conversations with my counterparts over the last few days that this is, we all have the same concern that I just expressed to you.
But there must be some, I mean, the property appraisers, I'll call them a lobbying group, but in essence they are. Have they not issued a statement about this property tax? Because this affects property, this affects your business throughout the state. They must have some opinion that they are giving to, the president, to the leaders in Tallahassee.
We have not crafted an opinion yet because we are waiting on the result. I think the people that are closest to this are the League of Cities and the Florida Association of Counties. I will point out that as a property appraiser, our role in this is ministerial. We are simply going to apply a different amount of an exemption if the voters approve it in November, and we are going to adjust the cap limitations if the voters approve it in November. We've done this before when we added Save Our Homes. We've done this when we've raised the homestead. Again, do we think this is a good idea? I don't want to speak for all of the property appraisers across the state, and I would comment that this is an impact not on the property appraisers as much as on you, the counties, and the cities of this great state. That's who is going to be impacted by this change. Nothing in here contemplates the elimination of property taxes. Nothing in here contemplates the elimination of the role of the property appraiser. This is all about collection. This is all about the taxes that are collected will be lower.
So you have no professional opinion on this if it does pass in whatever form they finally agree on.
I'm trying to share with you my professional opinion here, which is that this is going to have a substantial impact on especially the smaller communities in Palm Beach County.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If I could just finish the last section, I only have one more slide, and then I'm happy to address any questions you have. So the second question the second major piece of this legislation that is being proposed is that the 10% cap would reduce to a 5% cap. So just quickly, 10% cap applies to all non-homesteaded property. Homestead property already has a 3% cap, and it would lower the threshold from 10 to 5. Now, the numbers don't look significant when you compare them from 10 to 5, but when it will look more significant is over time. So 5% is a fairly low threshold. Values increase for most people. And again, we're talking about businesses for primarily second homeowners, vacant land owners, et cetera. Value might increase 5 to 7%, if we even look at that average increase. So In the past, that simply would have gone up that amount because the 10 cap would not have played in unless the value went over 10%. Now the cap will play in at 5%, not at 10%. Okay, so I showed you earlier the graph with the top market line and the lower assessed line and those values diverging, separating. That will happen more substantially if you go to a 5% cap. The amount that's collected versus the amount that it is valued at will be more significant. And when those buyers go to buy a property that maybe already has a cap, they may also be in for more of a shock, rather like homestead buyers often are when they buy a house that's been capped for a long time. So the second part of it, again, impacts are hard to show just year over year, but in the longer term, it would have more of an impact. Again, the second 10% cap now does not apply to the school board. So if you own if you own a seasonal rent, even a rental here, if your value now goes up 7% or 12%, you still pay that 12% to the school board. The school board still receives the money. The 3 cap is not the same way. It also affects the school board, but just so you're aware of that. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm finished, and am happy to answer questions about this detail or about anything else you'd like to know about the tax roll itself this year.
Thank you so much. Do you happen to have, I don't see the numbers on here for the special districts throughout the county and how it would impact them at all?
Do you mean which?
Independent special districts.
So fire rescue and so forth, they are on here at the very bottom. Again, my apologies
No,
for
I'm talking
being...
about like Indian Trails, the improvement districts.
Oh, the water management districts, yeah. So if they don't levy a millage, then they're a non-ad valorem assessment, and they aren't impacted by this at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you very much, property appraiser Jax. Always appreciate you coming in this time of the year to update us on what our expectations are for the coming year. So just a little bit about some of the information you presented to us today. So when you say the new value, it doesn't include the land, that's a substantial portion typically of new construction. Is that something you just, it's a separate line item in your?
Well, it's already included. So the land has always been valued. Now, when a property is platted, so it goes from being a large parcel to those 200 smaller, we are applying a higher land value to those smaller parcels, but the land is always there. So the new construction number is included in your total overall number. So your total overall number of 548 billion includes that new construction, that 5 billion in new construction. It's just that you do not have to include the new construction value when you calculate your rollback rate.
Okay.
It's considered sort of new money. And so when you calculate rollback, which is a calculation showing you what your budget, what millage rate would be generated if you took last year's budget divided by this year's value. When you do that calculation, you don't have to include new construction.
Okay.
But the land of new construction is not new. It's been there, and it's been being valued. Now, chances are it's probably increased in value, and we're reflecting that each year. So, for instance, when a developer starts to sell those 200 lots, they're worth a lot more each individual lot because they are now developable. We are adjusting the value each year going by what those lots are selling for until maybe the whole community is built out.
And then when you talk about, additions, what triggers that in terms of their taxable value? Is there a threshold you have to go over before it triggers a reassessment?
So normally what our rule of thumb is, it's easy to explain this way, is If you add square footage to your home, it is considered an addition. That will trigger an increase of your capped value plus the value of the addition, creating a new capped value. If you are simply renovating your kitchen, that is not considered an addition.
Okay. And then when you talk about annexations, because the property existed before it was annexed into the new assumed jurisdiction, why does that change why was that change your value calculation?
So for the city that's annexing, again, it's rather like new value. Last year, they did not have that value, so they do not have to use that new number when they make that rollback calculation. But that the new annexation is now considered, in a sense, new money to that city.
And as it relates to the county, though, because potentially they've been valued in the county, is there any change to the county's valuation?
No, there isn't.
Okay,
No.
so that's specific to the municipalities?
Yes.
Okay. And then I don't know if you can answer this, I'm not sure, but in terms of your understanding of dissolution of cities, if in fact some of the cities were to dissolve because there wasn't enough funds for them to continue to operate, my understanding is that we absorb them, but their millage goes away entirely. Is that correct?
Correct, unless you, one place that wouldn't be is for fire rescue. So if you were to dissolve a city that was not already in the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue District, then, because they had their own fire department, then they would presumably start paying the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. So although their millage would go away, there may be some things to replace it. Another example is the library. So if you were in a city that has a library right now, you don't pay the county library. But if your city was to go away, then that you would begin paying the county library.
So the MSTUs would stay, but as it relates to overall the ad valorem tax collected by the city, that would not transfer to the county, so therefore you would end up with more residents you're providing services to, but you're not collecting any additional revenues for that.
Correct, because those citizens, those taxpayers, are already paying Palm Beach County's millage.
Right, but they're also relying on their municipalities for a lot of the services because they're paying them a specific millage rate as well.
And presumably, if they dissolved, the question would be, do those services then go away and they are absorbed under the county? I understand what you're saying, and this is a brave new world. I don't know how many years it's been since there's been a dissolution or an unincorporation of a city. This would all have to be looked at. I'm sure it's something that you as a board will have to, well, if this passes through to the voters and the voters approve it, then this would have to be something you would want to address, how you would handle that.
All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for this presentation and the spreadsheet here. I had to take a picture and blow it up. The glasses still weren't enough to read all of it. I did have a question on the non-homesteaded properties, and really both of them, because you have the 10% cap tax revenue reduction, and then the 5%, what the difference would be. So is this something that we can use to actually show what the current reduction is based on what market value would be and what we're actually able to tax at? We're showing for countywide, it's 210, is that billion?
Billion.
Billion, okay, 210 billion is non-homestead.
Correct. Well, it's the value of the reduction.
Because if currently we do have a 10% cap, so that is already reduced from what the market would be?
And it's that difference.
This is the difference?
Yes.
Okay, so on the other end with the homestead, you have the same thing for showing the 2025 exemption revenue loss. That's currently what that reduction would be because of the 3% homestead that exists.
The first page is the impact of increasing the exemption from $50,000 to $150,000. The 3% cap is sort of a separate concept from this first sheet, which is just the homestead impact of increasing the amount of the homestead.
So do we have one that shows currently what the difference between the market and the current 3% reduction?
We can get that for you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just-
Yeah, it's kind of in that slide.
I think
We can get
it's
for
in
you.
here. It's just, there's a
these,
lot.
These two concepts are really apples and oranges. They're quite different from one another, you know? They're both, I mean, they're both obviously a piece of ad valorem law, but they're, the first, raising the exemption amount will actually, the 3% cap will still continue on top of that. So you'll just get a higher exemption amount, but your cap will continue. So you'll then be able to still port value to a new home, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm trying to think if we would let us give that some thought, whether the increase in the homestead exemption is going to create a big change in the 3% cap process.
Okay. You can think about that.
Yeah,
There's a
let
lot
us
to
think about
process
that.
with all of this.
It's it's been a lot the last sort of 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. I did have a question about CRAs. They're not mentioned. Do we know where that would play?
Yeah, so the CRAs are not levying a millage. They, of course, receive their revenue from you, and if they're in a city, also from their city, based on sort of appreciation within the boundary of the CRA. So they will, if your values decline, then their values will decline. However, I will point out that most of the CRAs are not residential. They are predominantly commercial areas. So the impact of the change in the homestead exemption won't have such a big impact on them.
But the reduction from 10 to 5 eventually will be something
Yes.
that affects them. Okay. And you did mention that the school board, I guess, is being protected at the moment. And you mentioned that we're going to be uncapped. They've always been uncapped, right? As far
Only
as
on the 10 cap.
on the 10 cap.
They are capped on the 3 cap,
Okay.
the school board. By the way, I will just make a note, just for the record, on our spreadsheet regarding the change in value loss, potential value loss for the homestead change. We still have the school board on here because until yesterday, they were still included. And again, that line will just go away.
Okay. And then my last question, when you mentioned about parcel increases with replatting, do the parcels ever change in their value based on when we do like a comp plan amendment or a zoning change? Does that go into the next year's tax roll? Like if something has changed from, say it was ag and they get a residential, even though it's not built on, does that change the land value on what's taxed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it definitely can. Depends on the scenario, depends on the category it's going from to, but yes, it definitely can. We are tracking zoning changes, and they're included in our maps, and then our appraisers re-review that each year to see if there's been any significant, any zoning change that would impact value, and then adjust the values accordingly.
So it would adjust on the land, and then once it's built on, that's the next step for
Right.
the adjustment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zoning will just affect the land value.
Right.
But, if you looked at your properties on Papa, you'll see we actually separate the two, land from buildings. So that's kind of a good way to look at it. You can see the land moving once it's created, once it's platted and added to the roll. So for instance, in a brand new community, you'll start to see the values rise as the sales occur in that community.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. So Dorothy, looking at your sheet, it looks like we have roughly 370,000 homesteaded properties. So based on your 662,000 properties in total, that leaves us 292 non-homesteaded. But of those 292,000, how many do we have that actually don't pay taxes? Governmental, municipal, nonprofit, do we have a number for that?
Yeah, we can get that for you, certainly. No problem at all. I
'Cause-
don't have it on me, obviously, but.
I know the
you
county owns like 2,000 parcels of land, so, because now what the question is being asked is, there's going to be a large burden on a smaller population. And so anybody that's listening and you own a business or you have an investment property, this is going to fall on you. And the sad thing is that they're not voters. So they're not going to be going to the polls in November to vote on this. It's just going to be the folks that are homesteaded who think that this is such a great deal and not realize that, if you want to go to the beach, go ahead, but there won't be any lifeguards there to guard you. Or if you want to go to a park, there's not going to be, go ahead, but there's not going to be any maintenance on that park. And I think people need to realize that there's a huge, heavy impact on this. And I hope our legislators understand the impact because, as you said, if we dissolve cities and dissolve counties, which actually that might not be such a bad idea, dissolving some of our counties, because when you have a county of 5,000 people next to a county of 5,000 people and they're both offering the same services, then you're not being very efficient with your dollars. But having said that, no county wants to be dissolved, no city wants to be dissolved. So if you're out there listening about why this is not a good idea, and because the county can't advocate, but we can educate, please understand that the impact of this means that services to you at home will decrease if we get rid of property taxes. And I don't understand why the Florida legislature isn't paying more attention to property insurance, because I pay twice as much in insurance as I do in property taxes, and I don't get to write off my insurance, but I get to write off my taxes. So that was just a little public service announcement. Thank you.
If I could just actually add to that, the thing that is probably the most disturbing to me about this concept is that the government that people like the most is their local government. They like the parks, they like the library, they like the Christmas parade, they like the summer barbecue, they like the programs for their kids. All of that is very local. And it's a shame that that government is the government that is being targeted. I think that we as citizens have to think about that. The savings from these changes, when they're finally written, we're working on that today, we'll be able to tell you exactly what the dollar amount will be if you're in Haverhill that you will save from this. It won't be $10,000. It won't be $6,000. It'll probably be closer to between $2,000 and $3,000 a year. That's what the savings will be. Now, I do not in any way want to discount that $2,000 to $3,000 can be a lot of money. But for me, in my very, very normal home, very middle of the road home, it's only a third of my tax bill. So I think it's important that people understand that this is not an elimination of property tax. No. This is a reduction, conceptually a reduction in property tax, unless you are living in a home that's worth only $150,000. And we know in Palm Beach County that that is probably not all that likely. There are people here who are, and they will not pay property tax anymore. And there will be many people across the state who won't pay property tax anymore, yet continue to call the fire department when their home's burning, or call the ambulance, or use the library, or go to the park. But many of us will lose a lot of beloved services for $2,000 to $3,000 a year.
I have a question also. When you come back, can you give us the number of rental units? Because sadly, we struggle every day with the cost of rents. And if taxes go up on those properties because they are non-homesteaded, that is going to lead to a greater homeless population and those folks that are one paycheck away from being homeless because their rent has gone up. So that's another effect of what this can do for us. So if you can get a number like that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Jacks. You have the numbers more numbers and more specific numbers than any other constitutional officer or county commissioner. That's why I'm looking to you to give opinions, professional opinion, as to whatever comes out of Tallahassee. Something's going to come out. It's not going to be pretty, at least for local government. And as one editorial said so well today, it's not about taxes, it's about power. Take the power away from local government, which I think it was Jefferson, local government governs best, cities, counties. So I really look to you to review the repercussions of, just as you explained today, $2,000, $3,000. However, forget that library, forget that, 4th of July event, forget this, forget that. And also to advise businesses that there's going to be increases, may even be increases in sales tax that funds the state government. But again, you have the numbers. And I really look to you to have the folks understand repercussions, financial repercussions, on what will occur when they finally reach and again, this goes to the people, 60%. So, but they have to know what's going on. I appreciate all the work you do. Thank you, Ms. Jack.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And because you're our data person on this, because we've heard a lot of talk about the dollar amounts, 150,000 exemption, the 250,000 exemption, and we get information about the whole state. You're the only one that can give us our breakdown. And I was wondering, can you give us by city, all of what you have, the broken down part here, what is above the 150 or above the 250? Because trying to understand the impact on our cities, because there's a lot of variables. Some it's number of homesteads versus commercial properties, and also the values.
And the caps.
And the caps. So, and because even putting homesteads, I mean, a condo can be a homestead.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, knowing, it's all over the place, and you're the only one that can kind of give us that. But just to help our own understanding, because I do believe that some of our cities would become insolvent based on even if they don't have homestead above the 150 or the 250. I mean, every city on here is being impacted, but our wealthier ones have a much higher threshold above that 250 exemption that they can still, those people are going to continue to pay taxes. Everyone that's below that. So really, like our areas where we have affordable workforce housing that still exists, those are the ones that are really going to, if I'm understanding this correctly, most of their homestead parcels are going to fall within that exemption, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're a Haverhill, where many of the homes are older inventory, predominantly older inventory, although they have been doing some infill, which is fantastic. Especially people who've lived in their homes a long time, they may be capped at $200,000, even though their home may be worth $400,000. Well, they're not going to pay any tax anymore. Whereas in the past, they paid tax from $50,000 to $200,000. Do you see?
Mm-hmm.
So other than to the schools, they'll still pay that. But so there's a lot of those communities right in that middle band of our inventory, our 39 cities. There's a number of them: Haverhill, Palm Beach Shore, not so much Palm Beach Shores anymore, but Green Acres, Palm Springs, Tequesta, North Palm Beach, Ocean Ridge, Boynton to some extent, Lantana, Hypoluxo. I mean, I can kind of right off the top of my head tell you which cities will really struggle in this new world if this passes.
Okay.
And again, like I said, what do people like the most? Well, they like their little Lantana library, and they like their Lantana events, and they like having their local code enforcement, and they like having their local. I mean, I do too. We all do. But local government is is everyone's favorite. If there is a favorite government, that's their favorite.
Okay, thank you. Because I know, I mean, I have 13 cities. All of us have, most of us have cities, and the Commissioner Sachs, but it affects the county. But I would like to be able to share this with each of them too, because I know they're going to have a lot of the same discussions.
I
So-
will let you know, we have a very good constant line of communication with the cities. We sent this data out to them last night. We provided them when the first round of ideas came about with a lot of information, and we continue to, whenever they ask us, we produce it for everybody. You know, because one good question will serve everybody. So your ideas are great, and we'll start working on those and share them with you, and then share them obviously also with the cities.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, thank you for this information. I was looking at slide 6, and it says in 2000, that's 28, if we reach the 250,000 exempt value. And then it says exempt revenue loss of $396,841,175. Now that is how much less we would be bringing in?
Correct. So those are tax dollars that would be eliminated. To the
And-
county, every other number is to each of the cities. So it's not cumulative. This is not, yeah.
Now, do you have another sheet that or could you add another line, a column, showing what we do currently bring in?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Because, you know, some people think, you know, the county has a $10 billion budget, they can afford to lose $396 million, right? But that's very disingenuous. The county commission runs 30 different departments of 1.6 million people for roughly $609 million. Everything else goes to what we are required by law to pay, whether that is public safety, you know, we pay all the other budgets, right? Constitutional officers, everything else. And we are left, you know, so we're looking at a reduction of half. That's why, or this is almost 400 million. That's way more than half. So if we could get another column that shows what the true, you know, what we would normally bring in versus, so people have an idea.
So it gives it a comparable.
A comparable.
I'm with you.
I think that's important for people to
See.
I mean, people will make decisions on the ballot, and that's what this comes down to. And Commissioner Marino said we are not allowed to advocate, but we can educate and just let people know. Have they discussed in any of your meetings how the loss of revenue what cities, counties are thinking about doing to make up those revenue dollars?
No, not in any of mine. Of course, mine is just property appraisal related and how we would, at this point, the mechanics of this process, which for us is very important that we would be able to, in fact, certainly just over the last, again, we're what, 4 or 5 business days into this, the discussion's really been around, can we do it? You know, can we mechanically do it? And of course we can. It will take a fair bit of work, but you know, we've done it before. We've done things like this before. So no, the discussion hasn't been around that. But I would have thought that the Florida League of Cities and the NACO, the Association of Counties, the state, what is it called? Florida.
Back.
Thank you. would probably, hopefully have started that sort of thing.
I will say, as somebody who, my husband and I own a homesteaded property, but we also own a building for our business. And I think that was the goal when we started out, very small in the back of an industrial park, to eventually get to. I will say that 10% cap, and yes, we are voters, has killed us every year with the amount of money, because we every year have to pay 10%. So I will say I am looking forward on some of this to a 5% cap on business, because it really, it's terrible what we have to pay every single year. But then you also said that the school board would still apply. And now their millage rate is 6.321, and the county's millage rate is 4.5.
And more than half of the school board millage leaves Palm Beach County and goes to Tallahassee, just to be clear. That money doesn't stay here in Palm Beach County. It leaves and goes to Tallahassee, and then Tallahassee deems how much will come back to Palm Beach County. And we are, I don't think it's lost on anybody, a donor county, meaning we don't, I believe, get back as much as we put into the state pool. So when you see your bill, you get state effort, which is this school money that goes to the state, and then you get the local, and more of that 6 goes to the state than stays here.
And there's no cap.
Not on the school, and now there will be no exemption ramification. They will still remain at what is now their $25,000 exemption. At the moment, the school does not is held harmless from the second, what we call the second 25. Your current $50,000 exemption, the first applies to all taxing authorities. The second 25 applies to all taxing authorities except the school. So now the school will collect on everything from $25,000 up to $250,000 before any other taxing authority collects. And that will be on both state and local effort. Both millages for the schools.
I'm not going to comment on that. I will let people make up their own mind on that one. Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
I love the way you speak. And I love the way the mayor asks you these questions. Can you please give us these consequences? Because this, again, is about numbers. You know, a lot of people don't know that when they hold harmless to schools, it doesn't mean that our school districts are going to benefit. It means that there's going to be schools in the state of Florida that will benefit because we are a donor county. I know that. I know that, but a lot of people don't know that. So if you could, if it's okay with my colleagues and the mayor, if you could let us know these consequences, and I know we don't have a specific bill yet with numbers, but these are points. This is education, not opinion, but numbers speak loudly, and we need to know this so that we can see. Tallahassee's they're upset that I'm saying this, Mr. Weiss, so that we need to educate our constituents as to the immediate repercussions that's going to happen to the people here in Palm Beach County. So with the mayor's permission, if you could provide us with these answers. My colleagues have asked some excellent questions, and I think that you, as property appraiser, can answer them with more knowledge than anybody else. Is that okay? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ms. Jacks.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I will offer, if the bill passes the House and the Senate this week and starts moving toward the ballot, I'd be happy to come up once a month and answer more questions, provide more data, find out where you would like me to go next as far as the data, which more than happy to do. We have very close ties to your OFMB department as well with Sherry and her team. And of course, I talk to Administrator Abruzzo fairly regularly. You've got anything you'd like to know, we've taken down, I'm hoping, one of my team has taken down all your questions today, and we'll start getting those to you. But as you have more, just send them off to me, and we'll get them answered for you and provide as much data as we possibly can. And if, again, it's not lost on me that these subjects are complex. I mean, I have the luxury of having done this now for almost 38 years. So for me, I have both history and I understand the concepts. More than happy to come up here and explain them. I know they're tough. They're tough for our voters. I hate to think, quite honestly, if this was to pass, even explaining this to our voters is going to, and our taxpayers is going to be complex. And that's one of the toughest things we do, is try to get people to understand. I do want to just clarify and make sure you're aware, I think you are, that the current concepts that are being discussed would exclude brand-new homeowners from the higher exemption benefits for 5 years from the time they file for homestead. Those new owners would receive the current $50,000 exemption and would basically be in a holding pattern. They would be homesteaded, meaning they would have had to give up their any other home, any other benefit they're receiving in another state, and have declared their Florida residence. Then after the 5 years, they would be eligible for the higher amounts. I just want to make sure that's on the record, that everyone understands that that's been written into this. Interestingly, we have a lot of people coming in to file for homestead who will be in under the, if this passes, under the, who may currently have a second home here. Many people have a second home here for a number of years and then homestead it. So,
Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for asking the question about what homestead collection looks like. I think in a nutshell, when people see our budget and they see $10 billion, they don't realize only roughly 2.2 of that is taxable dollars that our folks pay. And 50% of that right off the top goes to the sheriff. 22% of that goes to fire. That leaves 28% of what's collected in tax revenue to cover things like road and bridge, parks, emergency management, environmental resources, our beaches, our public services, including Palm Tran and Tri-Rail, and any of the safety issues that we face. So if we take what is projected and cut it more than 50%, it's the basic human services that we provide that will go away. That is the simple takeaway from this. 50% goes to the sheriff, 22% goes to fire rescue. That leaves 28% of our budget to give safety, public service, and services to 1.6 million people. And not to mention, we're a county of close to 2,300 square miles. It's difficult. It's very difficult. So if you're out there listening, please listen to all of us and do your homework, because it's important for you to be educated when you go to the polls in November. Thank you.
thank you. If I could add one more point that made me think about, this is also, it's significant that it's $400 million from all the countywide authorities, who all have a separate millage they can levy or raise if they have to. And this is the sort of, this is the rub. If everyone gets a $2,000 to $3,000 additional homestead exemption, but the potential that all those taxing authorities who have now lost significant revenue raise their millage, then everyone's millage rate goes up, right? Which in the end, where is the offset? So you can also think about it that way, because the potential for the healthcare district, the Children's Services Council, the Florida Inland Navigation, all of those districts can also raise their millage, as could you, to some, that is in the offing to make up for that difference. So it's another part of this. It's not about one taxing authority, it's about all the taxing authorities that we each pay.
I'm just going to kind of follow up on Commissioner Marino's points. In the 2,300 square miles that we have, the biggest concern we've heard again and again from residents about infrastructure, roads, bridges, and all those improvements. I mean, this just hinders our ability to provide that for residents. It is one of the, probably my biggest priorities that I tackle all the time because of my district. We have huge road needs, infrastructure needs to take place. And so my concern is with the amount of people moving here, we have to be able to pay to keep up with infrastructure. And that would be my concern. I think, like everyone else, we all want to pay less in taxes. I think that's normal. I want to pay less in taxes. But to what cost? And so I will leave that there. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I just wanted to clarify, because my reading of what's being proposed is it's 5 years for new residents. So that if you've lived here for 5 years, you would still get, so how does a new home buyer get so if somebody's trying to buy their first home, they're not going to get it?
Well, we are not 100% sure of whether if you had lived here and can prove that you have been a resident, although not a homesteader, you might, in this situation, be eligible for the higher homestead amount. That isn't, it's a little fuzzy at the moment for us to understand that. We're still sort of wrapping our heads around that. But if you have never been in Florida and you arrive here this month, well, that's not a good example. If you arrive here in June of 27, you would have to wait the 5 years. But there may be an allowance for your example, a new home buyer who has lived in Florida, it can prove their residency going back. I'm not 100% sure on the answer to that.
And was there was nothing in there about portability either. And that's really, I think that's an issue that affects a lot of people, and it would really help the market if they had addressed that, so people who wanted to downsize, because I know a lot of folks that will not move because they'll double their property tax bill, even if they take the money that they've gotten, for the sale of their home and reinvest it in another home, it's going to double their property value.
You mean because of the restriction that portability just beyond 500,000? Yeah.
Right.
No, it's our understanding that nothing with portability will be touched.
Okay.
And all of our rules around recapture, meaning when somebody sells, the property will reset to market, all of that will remain in place.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did watch some of the committee discussion yesterday, and one of the representatives had brought up about homestead, that there's not actually a time requirement that people live in the county for homestead. Is that true?
That's correct.
So currently, someone can homestead, call this their primary residence, and not really live here?
No, it's not. There is no time restriction to it. A lot of people have this theory that you have to be here 6 months, but those are actually New York rules. They're rules from other states where they have income tax requirements. Florida's homestead law at the moment says that you have to declare yourself a Florida resident and you have to be in your home on January 1st. Own and occupy and be a Florida resident on January 1st. And each year you receive a renewal of that homestead for January, and you have to, again, receive that renewal. And if you don't, you have to answer to us. We follow up on a lot of homestead non-compliance that way. How do you declare you're a Florida resident? You get a Florida driver's license. If you own cars, you register them in Florida. You get a Florida voter ID if you vote. All of that you bring in with you. We review it. And if you meet those requirements, you are granted a homestead exemption. There is nothing saying that you could get the homestead. I'm sorry, there's one other very important point, and that is that you have to give up any other residency-based benefit you're receiving elsewhere. So if you were receiving a residency benefit in New York, you have to give it up before you can get Florida homestead. We do a lot of research into, do you have one already? We make sure you're aware of that when you file, and we do follow up. One of the questions on the application is, where did you live before? You can own another home, you just can't claim a residency benefit on it. But once you've met all those criteria, yeah, there is nothing saying you have to live here 75% of the year, or you have to, no. It just says that you've declared Florida as your primary residence.
Okay, well, thank you for that, because I was under the mistaken assumption too that it was, at least 6 months here, or there's no, because some of the argument that I've heard for this is that our homesteaded property owners live here all the time and contribute to the local economy in other ways. So there is a benefit to having, giving a property tax benefit to those people because they're participating in our local economy. But that's not necessarily true at all.
many of our transplants, if you want to call them that, in the kindest possible way, keep a home in another state where their children are, and they return to it in the summer. It's quite common. That doesn't mean they've given up their homestead benefit. It just means they own
Again, that's
another
a few
home.
months. This could be 9 months.
It could
And
be.
they could still be a Florida resident with a homestead property here and enjoy all the tax benefits that comes with that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I thank you for clarifying, because I saw it yesterday, and I was like, that just can't be true, but I guess it is.
Well, and I also think that if you think about the dynamics of what our county, who lives in our county versus who lives in many of the counties in Florida, many of the counties in Florida, as you probably know, I mean, it's generations of people who have lived nowhere else, you know? And so when they talk about a homesteader, that they are thinking of that person that you mentioned, that person that, you know, has made that county their home, their whole lives, their parents live there, their grandparents live there. We don't have that dynamic in South Florida, and we're not unique. I mean, Broward and Miami-Dade are the same. I would argue Orlando, you know, Tampa, all of the big counties are full of people who are maybe not here full-time. But I will also say that to the comment that are contributing to our local economy, some would argue that people who are here only for 4 months a year who are not homesteaded, they're contributing to the local economy too, and they're getting none of these benefits, you know? So there's, again, two sides to that.
I only
sometimes
bring that
think
up because of sales tax, which, by the way, doesn't stay here. You brought up the tax that does stay here, property taxes do. Sales tax, 6%, that goes to Tallahassee. I'm sure billions of dollars from Palm Beach County go in sales tax, and we get maybe a few $100 million back. And income tax is also another one. State of Florida, no income tax here. That all goes to Washington, D.C., and our great teams fight to get some of that money back, too. So good for that. But yeah, property tax is the only one that stays local, unless it's the state school tax, which is more than half of that line item. Okay. It's going to be an interesting summer. Thank you. And please do, if this, whatever happens today, please schedule regular meetings with us, because I'm sure we're more and more questions are going to come from this. So thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I see no lights. I will entertain a motion to receive and file. Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Moving on to Housing and Economic Development. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Yeah, I will second that, but I also want to read into the record, neither the taxing power nor faith and credit of the county nor any county funds shall be pledged to pay the principal redemption premium, if any, or interest on the bonds.
I have a motion by Commissioner Flores, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 6-0. Moving on to 5D1, Human Resources. I believe our current Inspector General is here. John?
Yeah, anyone need a presentation?
Does the new one want to come say a few words?
I don't need a presentation. No, if she wants to say hello, I would do. But the HR was coming up.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Still morning, yes. I just want to say I'm definitely appreciative and excited about the opportunity about being selected as the next IG for Palm Beach County. I want to add that it's been a tremendous experience serving with John over the last 11 years. He is definitely a man of integrity, a great leader, a man of God. He's leaving us for his new calling in life, which is going into the ministry, and I'm just excited about continuing this walk in the office with an amazing staff.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 5D1.
I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that the motion carries 6-0. Moving on to we do not have this scheduled.
This just has to be read into the record.
Would you like the entire paragraph read? Nope, your mic isn't on.
Good morning. Okay.
Morning.
Maureen Martinez on behalf of the County Attorney's Office. I have a motion to approve holding a private attorney-client session in the case of Transit Village LLC versus Palm Beach County, case number 2024 CA 001949. It is to discuss settlement negotiations in the pending lawsuit. It is to be held today during the BCC meeting at 1 p.m. in the McKeedy Conference Room at 301 North Olive Avenue, 12th floor, West Palm Beach, Florida. The following persons will attend the meeting with the members of the BCC who are present at the time: Mr. Joseph Abruzzo, County Administrator; David Oddie, County Attorney; myself, Maureen Martinez, Chief Assistant County Attorney; Andrew Polino, Senior Assistant County Attorney; and Sean Fahey, Assistant County Attorney. Pursuant to Section 286.011, subsection 8 Florida statutes, the entire attorney-client session shall be recorded by a certified court reporter who shall record the discussion and proceedings, the names of all persons present at any time, and the names of all persons speaking. No portion of the session shall be off the record. The court reporter's notes shall be fully transcribed and filed with the clerk and shall be made part of the public record upon conclusion of the pending litigation.
In summary, the BCC will discuss settlement negotiations.
Sorry.
So
Yes.
we will break until 1. Unless you would like to,
This is
we can
just
finish?
a motion to.
Okay, who would like to make the motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Marino. All in favor? Any opposed? Please say that the motion carries 6-0. Board of County, we have Health Department, 6A1. We only have one.
Need to recess as the board and then convene as the Child Care Facilities Board.
We are recessed, and now we will reconvene as the Child Care Facilities Board for 6A1. We have one nominee named Sandra Thomas.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Flores, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 6-0. Does anyone have any board appointments? Oh, we need to adjourn as the Child Care Facilities Board, and now we will reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Now, so many boards, guys, so many boards. So we now have any board appointments. And since we have time, any board direction? No. Staff comments?
Speaking of board direction, we just asked the board to receive and file the director's report.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Woodward, second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Any opposed? Please say that the motion carries 6-0. County Attorney?
None.
Okay. Nobody spoke up for, okay. We will do Commissioner comments. Commissioner Marino, Vice Mayor Woodward.
I have 2 off-site proclamations to request. One is Dump the Pump Day, and the second is declaring June 16th as World Elder Abuse Month.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Woodward, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that the motion carries 6-0. Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to request an approval for an off-site proclamation declaring June 4th, 2026 as Holocaust Survivor Day.
I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that the motion carries 6-0.
And then lastly, just to announce to the residents in the western part of the city of West Palm Beach, the Okeechobee corridor, we, a few months, well, actually now it's been quite a while ago, we installed the flashing yellow arrows for left turns in that section of Okeechobee. Unfortunately, there were a number of accidents that occurred, and looking into the situation and working with staff, as well as the Florida Department of Transportation, since this is their roadway, there has been an agreement to remove the remaining flashing yellow arrows that are there, and so keep that part of our county and our roadway system safer for those residents. And it was, quite frankly, at the request of the residents to have that removed. So I really want to thank everybody.
Oh, I object to that direction if you are giving direction.
It's not a direction. It's done.
Because we should discuss that further. That corridor of Okeechobee Boulevard is a problem because of the timing of the signals and being able to get into any of those off streets. So if that is already done and they are removing those flashing yellow lights, then we need to have engineering look at the timing of those signals, because you can sit there for
That's fine. They can look at the
extended periods of time just trying to turn off of Okeechobee Boulevard.
You can look at the timing. Actually, the real solution for that is adaptive signal technology.
I agree.
But what was happening, I mean, we've had a fatality. We've had a number of accidents. The data is clear. It is unsafe when you have 5 lanes of traffic and cars going over 60 miles an hour to have unprotected left turns. And in fact, the Florida Department of Transportation manual says you should not have unprotected left turns in speeds exceeding, where a speed limit is exceeding 45 miles an hour.
So let's have engineering look at that and see how we can make it flow better, because we are not in a position right now to spend on adaptive signaling. I think we have a pilot program currently that doesn't include that corridor, Commissioner Weiss? Right. So we need to make sure if we're taking out these flashing yellow lights, that something has to help those residents be able to move freely and not sit at lights for extended periods of time.
They requested this.
How many residents requested this?
Hundreds. I was out in every one of those communities. I was out at every one of those communities with their meetings, with hundreds at each one of those meetings, and their boards voted to have those lights removed, and they took them out on one side of the street. They didn't take them out on the other side of the street. And then what was happening is cars were making left turns in front of cars heading eastbound, and it was a combination of near misses and accidents happening on that roadway. I'm not an engineer. All I can do is tell you what was in the Florida Department of Transportation manual.
Could you have staff bring us some more information on this, Mr. Rutter?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I did forget that I need to reappoint, Commissioner Sacks, did you have any comments?
I'd like to remind everybody that we have a wonderful bus trip tomorrow, and we're going to be meeting right here by the, actually it's bigger than a bus trip because it's a Board of County Commissions meeting. It's publicly noticed, and we're going to have media outlets on each of the buses. And if anybody wishes to be interviewed, if you're not necessarily on the bus with us, you could follow the bus. We'll meet you at Bednar's. And Channel 20 is looking for people to interview. So if you have anybody here who wants to be interviewed, that's your opportunity. We'll also have news TV outlets there as well. But the most important thing is, thanks to my colleagues, we're going to have a informative look at a part of the county that's very important and one of the few areas that are open space. So I look forward to a wonderful bus trip with everybody. I don't think I've ever been on a bus trip with you all, so it should be really exciting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I missed a reappointment. I need to reappoint Mr. John R. Smith to the Palm Beach County Infrastructure's Third Tax Independent Citizens Oversight Committee. I don't know they could have made that name much longer, but I would like to reappoint him to it. I would also like to request permission for an off-site proclamation recognizing 100 years of library service in Belglade, which will be presented on June 11th in celebration of this important milestone and the library's longstanding impact on the Glades community. I need a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Woodward. I have a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Please see that that motion carries 6-0. And that is it for mine. We will reconvene at 1 p.m. upstairs. Thank you so much. And then we'll be back here at 2 o'clock for matters by the public. Yes, our shade meeting is at 1 in McKee Conference, and then we will be back here at 2 p.m.